Janky, boring, and overpriced, ELEX II is the worst game that I have ever loved? Really, this isn't hyperbole. As you'll see from my breakdown of this game's quote micrometrics, the units I score when analyzing a game's story, gameplay, content, and style, this game is as flawed across the board as was Putin's invasion of Ukraine. And yet, like Putin, I can't stop. Against all odds, I've become totally immersed in this game's generic story and lackluster content. I simply cannot explain it. It's like the Kramer of games.
He sickens me. I love it. Me too.
So, with all these conflicting feelings in mind, let's put ELEX II under the microscope, after which I hope you'll have a better idea of whether this game is right for you. For those of you new to the franchise, ELEX I began 100-something years after a comet hit planet Magellan and scattered magical crystals, or ELEX, across the land, in equal parts killing and corrupting its inhabitants. Factions, each with their own flavor, have now risen from the ashes of world government, and it's up to you, Commander Jax, to unite them against a new foe named the... sorry, I've actually been reading ELEX II's summary this entire time. It turns out these games are identical in every way but one. That one being... What if it was purple? Seriously, you're still Commander Jax and you're still trying to unite Magellan's factions, but this time the enemy is purple. Color me disappointed. In addition to being painfully generic, ELEX II's plot suffers from horrible pacing. Outside of the opening cutscene, you'll face no purple people eaters for the first 20+ hours of playtime, making your desperate efforts to unite the factions against this common foe feel pointless. The allies you'll assemble are equally bland, though none more so than the main protagonist.
Fine. Just teach me something.
Jax is an unlikable, perpetually bored-sounding, miserable piece of shit. And you'll have to forgive my potty mouth, but goodness has ELEX II's disappointing dialogue rubbed off on me. Really, everyone in this game curses like a sailor non-stop and does so with the same stereotypically stiff delivery of any game sporting thinly written, poorly voice-acted NPCs.
And you are?
The guy who's gonna kick your ass if you don't get the fuck out of here now.
In conclusion, the story is shallow and blunt, and my god, am I 30 hours in and still inhaling it like the junk food it is.
Unfortunately, you'll have just basic equipment and next to no abilities to start with, but you'll quickly regain your powers.
Liar. It will take you 10 hours before you'll be able to equip anything more powerful than the starting weapon, a lead pipe I nicknamed Eternity. This baffling design decision to lock weapons, but not armor, behind super high ability requirements makes every fight in the game's first third feel identical. It doesn't help that every non-flying enemy fights the same way. Pretty much all you'll need to do is spam dodge roll and wait for the NPC to initiate its ridiculously slow attack animation before charging up your own. After reducing the enemy's endurance to 0, you'll quote guard break it and enjoy a high damage finisher. Rinse and repeat. Meanwhile, non-combat in ELEX never really evolves beyond your standard ARPG. There's crafting, there's cooking, and decent exploration potential thanks to your nifty jetpack. But good luck finding whatever it is you're looking for, as ELEX's user interface is among the worst I have ever encountered. The world map zooms out about as far as my late grandmother could jump, RIP Grammy, and the mini-map barely accounts for verticality, so you'll have to memorize every twist and turn in the bafflingly complex underground Morcon stronghold. The beige subtitles are unreadable on light backgrounds, and the menus are a cluttered mess. Like, what are you doing here, man? Get back to the inventory tab. As for playability, a catch-all term I use to account for bugs, controls, and quality of life, well, it's all pretty bad. Not unplayable, mind you, but you will never not encounter just general jankiness, including awkward button mappings and unresponsive inputs. Okay, on to content. The world of ELEX is massive, maybe too much so, to the point it begins to feel empty. Magellan sports a number of different environments, from the snow-capped peaks of Ignadon to the underground mysteries of Caracas. The non-humanoid enemy designs here are pretty interesting, but I doubt anything is going to impress veterans of the genre. As for objectives, ELEX II is unfortunately full of tedious fetch quests and escort missions, though at times they do redeem themselves with interesting twists and moral decisions. These decisions will then register on the destruction meter, which determines, for example, which factions will allow you to join them. I have little to say about the game's clunky boss fights and have yet to encounter a puzzle, which leaves the value micrometric. And I hate to say it, but one of the reasons I'm so enjoying this terrible game is probably because I got it for free. I can only recommend it at $50 to fans of ELEX I. Lastly, a few words on style. The visuals in ELEX II are a mixed bag. From an environmental texture standpoint, I suppose everything looks fine or even good at times, but the unit models here lack detail and are just kinda ugly. Like, did the comet singe off everyone's eyebrows? But the real problem here is visual pop-in and screen flickering. It's occasionally awful and shatters any immersion that the game world otherwise builds. Meanwhile, the game's score is painfully generic and often directly clashed with game mood. Somehow, though, we've saved the worst for last. ELEX II's sound design is downright dreadful. Hitting birds with wooden clubs sounds like firing a 12 gauge. NPCs will recycle these same lines ad nauseum.
You got back problem? You got back problem? You got back problem?
And Jax will go full Tourette's guy whenever your jetpack runs out of fuel, even if it results in 0 damage.
Shit! Oh, fuck!
I could go on, but he's already dead. In conclusion, ELEX II earns a somehow all-time worst aggregate megascore of 2, which I suppose is fitting for a terrible sequel. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm off to play some more ELEX II.
Guess I'll be seeing you. And quit staring at my ass.